Well, now that the cows are here, it's time to build something. And that something is going to be a mineral feeder. If you're not familiar with mineral feeders, cows eat a whole bunch of stuff on the field, and generally speaking, what they're eating is going to be deficient in something, you know, sulfur, salt, potassium, any number of different things. And so what we're going to do is try to build a mineral feeder. We're going to try to make a 20 compartment, 2 foot by 6 foot long mineral feeder. And then we'll get minerals, we can put them in there, and the idea is that the cows can go in and just, you know, lick whatever minerals they happen to feel that they want, which is typically whatever they're deficient in. This is also supposed to be good for the field in the long term, because whatever the field is deficient in theory, the cows go and they eat out of the mineral feeder, and then a good amount of whatever they eat out of the mineral feeder ends up going out the back end of them, back onto the field, and hopefully, you know, putting said mineral out onto the field and hopefully helping to rejuvenate the field as well. That's all fine and good, but either way, it's supposed to be better for the cows, and we wanted to start a mineral program for our cows as soon as we could. So we're gonna get our mineral feeder built. That's what this wood behind me is. We're gonna take these long pieces, get them cut down to 6 feet long, see if we get them cut down to about 6 feet long, and then we'll cut the end pieces for them, and then we're gonna start putting it together. We got our pieces of plywood here that we're gonna use for dividers inside the mineral feeder, and I'm gonna probably use a router and make slots in the longer pieces just so that I can slide those dividers in and out if I decide I want to make, you know, one bigger spot, or, you know, not have as many divisions or something like that. So that's what we're going to try to do. I don't have a very detailed plan for this, so there's going to be a little bit of winging it here, but let's get started cutting wood. So here's our 6 foot long pieces of wood. We're going to go down and mark them so that we can notch them. We're going to notch them with the router. We've got a 1/2 inch bit in here. The pieces of plywood we're going to use for dividers are 15-30 seconds, so they should hopefully fit nicely into a 1/2 inch slot. We're going to make that slot about 5/8 of an inch deep, so we want to leave plenty of strength left in the wood. We're using 2x8s and 2x10s, which I know might seem a little bit big, but I want these compartments to be plenty deep so that we can put enough mineral in them and have it down a bit so that it's out of, you know, wind and rain and anything like that. We are going to have a cover over it in the end, and we'll get to that when we get to the end of it. But we want to make 10 compartments on each side, so that means we're going to do slots, and we want those slots to be about every 7 and a little less than 3/4 inches centered going down the 6 foot board. 6 foot board is 72 inches, so 10 compartments on a 72 inch board puts you at about 7.2, which is again a little less than 7 1/4. So we're going to go make our marks, and then we'll see about getting going with our router. All right, so now we have our marks where we want our notches to go, but as you'll notice, of course, the router, that's not on one edge. So in order to line it up, I'm not going to try to do these notches freehand because I'm just not that steady. So what we're going to do, we're going to measure from about the center of that bit to the outside edge of this router, and that measurement comes out to, let's see, just about 2 1/16. Yeah, about 2 1/16 inches. So what we're going to do then is we're going to put this 2 1/16 inches over from this line, from all of these lines on the board, so that when we run this router down, we can just put this on a line and just run the router, I should say, right down along that line, right against it, and use it as a guide. So let's get those marks put in. Okay, so we've got all our marks put in, just lining up the router here as a test, and we'll see that, yeah, that lines up pretty decently. So let's give it a shot. Well, that was fun, but we got a nice deep groove out of it, and that's, I think, going to be plenty good enough for what we need. So now I just have to do, let's see, 8 more of them on this board, and then 9 more on all the others. So yeah, we'll be back in a bit once we finish that. Wow, it really does not like hitting knots. Well, that was fun. It's always great when you hit a knot right in the middle of cutting one and it makes the router fly around. So yeah, that was, we'll try not to have that happen again. Well, that was a tremendous amount of routing work, and I'm really hoping I don't ever have to do that again anytime soon. But this is what we're going for. So we got our 2x10s in the middle, 2x8s on the outside. You may ask, why did I double up the 2x10 in the middle? And the reason for that is simple. Because I want to cut that groove, and I want them to be opposite each other. If I had used just one piece, the groove would have nearly gone all the way through the wood, and you'd have either no strength left or no wood left. So by doubling up the middle, you don't have that problem. You'll also notice the middle is higher because these are 2x10s and these are 2x8s. And that's intentional because we want to have a flap that goes over the top of this, and we want the middle higher and the outsides lower so that that flap kind of hangs in such a way that hopefully the rain drains off of it. So we're going to get this put together, get these 2 pieces put together, get the rest of the frame screwed together, and then we're going to try to get the pieces of plywood behind me on for the bottom. And once we get the bottom on, we'll start trying to cut the partitions. So let's get putting these together. Well, there we go. We got it put together, and it is heavy, let me tell you. I mean, I can lift it, but yeah, it's heavy. And it's supposed to be. You know, the cows are going to be bumping into it and stuff, so it's good enough. So we're going to flip it over. We're going to get the plywood put across the bottom, and then we'll start thinking about cutting our partitions. All right, so we got our bottom in, so we're going to cut our partitions. So to make our partitions, we're going to use plywood, and same plywood actually that we used for the bottom. And we're going to cut it to this width here, and then we're actually going to make it as high as the higher side, and then we'll cut an angle on it because we want that angle to kind of support the flap that's going to go over the top so that the flap doesn't, you know, drop too quickly or, you know, anything like that. So we're going to make that angle here with the partitions, and it means a little more cutting, but shouldn't be too bad. We'll get it done. So let's get cutting. Well, there we go. We got our first two partitions done. Not bad, pretty easy to make. They come out and they go back in, which is what we want. Want them to slide in and out. And they keep that nice slope that we want there, so that's good too. So yeah, that's two done, and I only have to make 6, 7, yeah. Let's see, math in my head. Not a pretty picture. 16 more, so off I go. Okay, well, I'm pretty happy with that. We got our dividers in, they move, I can pull them out if I need to, so that's good enough. I think we're going to go with that. So now the next thing I'm going to try to do is fit the mat to the top of it. The mat is going to be a piece of, it's not real thick stuff, so I'm going to try it. If it works, great. If it doesn't, then I'll get a thicker mat and replace it, but we're going to give it a shot. So I'm going to get that mat out, get it bolted down, get it cut because it's a little bit bigger than this is, and then we'll go from there. All right, so we got our mat on. I think it's pretty reasonable. Feels pretty on there. We used screws with a bunch of washers around it so that it hopefully won't pull out as easily, but we'll see how well this mat works. If there's any part of this that I'm worried about, it's this mat because it's not super strong, but we'll see how well it works. So what I do want to do to this still is get it up a little bit off the ground. I don't really want the wood sitting on the ground. I didn't use pressure treated lumber. Don't really like pressure treated lumber against anything that the cows are going to be eating. And generally speaking, organic certifications don't like it either. So because I didn't use pressure treated lumber, of course, that means that any wood that is in direct contact with the ground, termites are going to love. Not that they won't crawl up stuff to get to wood, they will, but it may slow them down a little bit. So what we're going to do to get it up off the ground is use this. Had an extra piece of 4-inch PVC pipe laying around. Just going to cut this in half. That's going to give me about two 2-foot long pieces, and we're going to put those at either end so that it'll be up off the ground. And that's plenty of room when we're out at the farm. If we want to move it around, we can just take the tractor and the bale fork and pick it up. That'll be fine. So we'll get this cut, see if we can get it fastened to the bottom side, and call this thing done. All right, well, that's our mineral feeder. So feels pretty stable. You know, we'll see how well the pipe holds up for the ends. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. If it doesn't, I'll put something else under there. And as far as this flap, like I said, we'll see. The idea behind this is that the cow comes in, they can kind of stick their nose under here, they can sniff, and then they can put their head under and, you know, go for it and get something. And we'll see. I think we're gonna put this up by the camera once we put some minerals in it so we can see how well they use it, if they use it at all. Hopefully they do. And we'll get there. So I had a little bit of cleanup to do, but that's the end of this project as far as building it, and we'll take our next video when we get it out on the farm and actually get some minerals in it, and we'll see how it goes. So anyway, till next time, we'll see you soon.